Ron Darling is calling tonight's game. I'm jealous. I'm going to come out and say it. I can't wait to get home and watch it. It is a great, great game. Ron, are you as excited as I am about this game tonight?
I really am, Michael. It's just like I was lucky enough to do the game last year in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, where the crowd started yelling, Cueto. He dropped the ball, and in the next pitch, Russell Martin hit a home run. You just never know what's going to happen in these games, and they were starved for 21 years in Pittsburgh. 29 years it's been here in Kansas City. And they had 15,000 at batting practice yesterday, 15,000 at a mall, and they're going to have 45,000 here at the game tonight. Just a crazy atmosphere.
Now, Ronnie, it's so easy to say we hit the reset button. It's the second season. It's the postseason. But when you have as bad a second half as Oakland had and blew what should have been a division title, can you not carry that into the postseason? Can you really erase it from your memory?
Donnie, that's a great question. I was in both locker rooms, about an hour ago, and I would say that the Kansas City locker room is loose, upbeat. Everyone's kind of fooling around with everyone else. All of the players were ribbing me and Cal Ripken, but the Oakland was just exactly different. Quiet. I think Bob Melvin was very quiet when we had a discussion with him. So, who knows what that means during the course of the game, because John Lester could go out there and throw 9 shutout innings. But coming into this game, it looks like Kansas City is so excited to be here, and Oakland's kind of, boy, I'm glad we're here kind of deal.
I look at this matchup with the two pitchers, too, Ron, and it even makes it more fascinating of a matchup. It's almost a referendum on those individual trades. Now, you could say that the Royals got out of it what they wanted when they made the trade for James Shields. They got into the playoffs. But unless you get into the best of 5, was that really worth trading Will Myers and Jake Odorizzi for? And then the other side, they got John Lester for these moments. So the team that loses, was that trade a failure?
Well, you think about it, the pitcher who is on the losing team, whether it's Lester or Shields, probably has pitched the last game they're going to pitch in that uniform.
Yep.
That's interesting, one part. Second, as far as Shields is concerned, I would say that there will be some residual collateral goodness that's here even after he's gone, because he's been a great teammate, been a good leader to a lot of their young pitchers. Wade Davis, of course, the other part, big part of that trade, has been so great in the bullpen. So I think you're right. Ned Yost said it to me before the game, just about a half hour ago, Michael. He said, really, it's nice to be in the wild card. We're excited about it. But if you don't win tonight's game, you're really not in the postseason. And I think this is an amazing game. This is going to be one of those rare games where the fans are just going to play a huge part. I'm glad to be part of it. But you really are not in the postseason until you got a team 5 or 7 game series.
Now, I want to throw this at you, too, Ron. We're talking with our good friend Ron Darling here. He's going to do the game tonight on TBS, Kayla Greca and Ron Darling. His name is Big Game James. I have not seen him succeed in many big games. I mean, he's been on the big stage, and I think he's got that nickname because it rhymes. Do you look at him as a big game pitcher?
Well, he got the nickname because he grew up in L.A., and L.A. Showtime, you guys know, hold the original Big Game James,
right.
Mr. James Worthy. So that's where the name comes from. Second, I agree with you that I've seen him pitch a lot of postseason games. Some have been good, some have been not good, and that all of those were with the Tampa Bay Rays, and you saw him firsthand, Michael. But what Ned Yost told me is that every single big game that he needed to pitch for this ball club down the stretch, he pitched a good game. He pitched a solid game, and that he has a presence. Both these pitchers, Lester too, they have a presence. They have a confidence. They induce confidence in the rest of their team. They're both that kind of players. I just think what's interesting is that both of these guys are pitching for their teams and pitching for their organizations, but kind of pitching for themselves too, because there's a lot of people out there who are looking at Big Game James, and they're looking at John Lester and deciding how much money and for how many years they're going to give it to him.
All right, under this format, Ronnie, there's been 4 wild card playing games, and the road team has won 3 of the 4. Anything to that at all that apply to either of these 2 games coming up today and tomorrow?
Yeah, that's great question, Donnie. And Pittsburgh helped serve the only one last year against Cincinnati. I think part of it is that, you look at the Kansas City Royals, they won 5 more games on the road than they did at home. So they've played well on the road all season long. 29 years they haven't been in the playoffs. most of their players are not even 29 years old. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think if Kansas City doesn't get overwhelmed in the first 3 or 4 innings, then we're really going to have some kind of game here tonight. But you could see a young team trying a little too hard to do some stuff early in the game. That could definitely happen. I think playing on the road in a wild card game where it's only one game, not best 2 out of 3, I think puts so much pressure on the home team. And I think the one thing about Oakland, or 2 things about Oakland I like, and other than John Lester, of course, the second is that, you know what, they had a tough second half. It really became frustrating for the manager, the team, and the fans. And here they are in Kansas City, not at home, with all that pressure of trying to make up for the last 2 months of the season by trying to come out here and watch Lester perform. So that advantage, I think, goes to Oakland. I
wonder if you heard what John Smoltz said. He thinks that the first round should be best of 3. It would be a bit fairer. And Don and I think it's great as a one game. You know what? You had a chance to win the division over 162. You didn't. This is your consolation prize, and I think it's special for baseball because what these 2 games are, Ronnie, they're best of 7s, and I think people tune in to the final game of a best of 7 series. That's what we get.
Well, Michael, doing what you and I do, this baseball stuff, to begin the postseason with a Game 7, it doesn't get much better than that. And I think John, who I love and is right 99% of the time, I think the thing that the second wild card has done is it's made it mandatory to win your division. We saw it with Detroit. We saw it with others on the last day of the season. That has become the most important thing, and I think that's good. And the wild card, yes. Is it fair? Probably not fair, but there's a lot of things in life not fair. And if you don't win your division, that means in one game you've got to play your best and come out a winner, or you're going to go home and with a real sour taste in your mouth. So it's not fair, but hang with them. That's how it goes.
Ronnie, while we got you, I want to ask you a Met question. DeGrom named Rookie of the Month of September for the Mets. Is that enough, you think, to call attention to a guy that I think really deserves to win the Rookie of the Year?
I think it was really a toss-up between him and Hamilton until he struck out the 8 batters to start the game to tie Jim DeShave. Until that moment, I think it could have went either way. My thought was that Darno was going to get a couple of votes. Maybe Familia might even be thought of, and that might steal something away from DeGrom. But once he struck out that 8 in a row, that became a national, his name became a national name, and I think he'll win the Rookie of the Year, and I think he'll run away with it.
15-10 they were in September. Should we fall victim to that and get romanced into the fact that they don't have to make changes, or do you believe that the Mets have to make changes?
Well, I'm not. I don't know about you guys. I'm not going to fall victim to any September records. I think they had a lot of great stories. I enjoyed doing the games this year more than I have in some years, with Lagares and Dilson Herrera coming up late, Lucas Duda having one of those breakout years. But if they decide that they're not going to get a big bat for the middle of the lineup, Michael and Don, that means that David Wright and Curtis Granderson are going to have to be better than they were this year. And those 2 names, I think, are more important than the young pitching, which is going to be great, the end of the bullpen, which is going to be great. They've got a lot of things that they haven't had in a long time. But if your best players in the middle of the lineup don't hit, I don't care what team you have, it's going to be a struggle.
Ron, we're going to listen to every word tonight. I'm so pumped up about this game. Have a great time. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.